of the complete guide to horror movies. Let me do that last line because I feel like my voice popped like I'm 12 years old going through puberty again.
Welcome to Krusty Burger. May I take your order?
Your voice sounds stupid.
Hi, friends and fans. Welcome back to I Want to Believe. Each episode, a special guest and I will review viral paranormal videos and give our opinions on whether it's real or if it can be debunked. So are you a believer or a skeptic? Put your beliefs to the test as we check out some alleged proof of the paranormal caught on video. Today, my special guest co-host is not only a dear childhood friend from way back in Nambucca days, but he's also an accomplished musician and fellow co-host of the Complete Guide to Horror Movies. I'm, of course, talking about the legend himself, Coop. Coop, how are you?
I'm well. How are you today, Justin?
Good. Won't lie, feeling a little stressed, but it's November, so what can you do? But for those living under a rock who may not know you, tell us a little about yourself.
I'm Coop. I've known Justin for a very long time, back in, as you mentioned, the Nambucca days. I'm bald, I like metal, I like drag, and I work in customer service. That's kind of like a neat little package. Let's go with that.
Nice. I actually had a thought when I was confirming this front sheet today. I remember one stage, I think we were both in year 6 or year 7, and we're actually trying to find ghosts around your house using one of those old cameras that you put the floppy disks into.
Yep, I remember that.
But
that was a weird crossover period in technology where it was a digital camera, but you literally inserted floppy disks into it, and that's how you got the data on and off the camera. But it had a screen as well. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
It's like something with a screen, but it takes floppy disks. Like, whoa.
Honestly, at this stage, I feel like that camera was like the predecessor to Wendy's camera from Final Destination 3. Shout out to that movie. I have to mention in every single episode I do from now on.
Shut the fuck up already!
Technology is just so strange. Even now, I see things where it's like a hybrid of an Apple Watch mixed with a phone, but also mixed with a Fitbit. But now it's like they're trying to incorporate a bit of a karaoke device into it that acts as a speaker. And it's like, when did watches have that technology? Or I've seen that soon there's going to be a bit of a new advertising model where you'll be able to put a screen on your backpack so that you can get paid for advertising a business logo. And it's like, geez, what kind of modern dystopia do we live in where everything's around advertising? But whatever. Now, I do have to ask, would you consider yourself a believer of the paranormal or more of a skeptic?
Definitely a skeptic. There's probably been like 1 or 2 situations where I've experienced something that I can't quite explain, but all around, I think the mind is a very powerful thing, and what it can convince you of or itself of is insane. And I feel like that in a lot of ways can have no limits in what is real to some people, is sort of what I would say about it. So I'm absolute skeptic, but I like to get scared, and I like to try to suspend disbelief, or whatever the term is, and try and convince myself otherwise.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Initially, at the start of this series, when I recorded the first episode with Lincoln, I mentioned that I was on the border between believing in the paranormal, but also being a huge skeptic, because while I've had my own experiences, I don't know if I necessarily trust my own experiences, like if it is a trick of the mind, if it's something that was paranormal, but I just refuse to believe it. Now that I've released a few more episodes, I still somewhat feel like I'm more leaning towards the paranormal side now as opposed to skepticism. But even late at night when I'm watching more and more of these ghost videos and whatnot, I still, like, sometimes I yell at the screen. I'm like, that's clearly fake. And then other times I think, shit, that was probably real, but I'm sure there's some visual effects or there's some trickery behind it or something, you know, people trying to get millions of views on TikTok or whatnot. But look, it is what it is. So let's get into some ooky spooky videos. With this first video, this is quite a popular video, I'm sure you've probably seen. It was first uploaded 14 years ago. In this video, the police are chasing this phantom car, as some people have called it, where it's on a bit of a high-speed chase, and then out of nowhere, the car just seems to drive through a fence, and the police aren't able to chase them anymore. So I'll just play the video for you. So you can tell in this very grainy footage, the car's out of control, they're trying to drive after them. And then right about here, the car veers towards the left. And there's a chain link fence that, you know, I'm not sure how they would have gotten through. But again, if I play it back in, say, quarter speed, I feel like we don't actually see anything over here to indicate that there's still a chain link fence. Maybe the car drove next to a very big open gap that we don't see in this footage. And, you know, cops are pretty much hopeless at this stage, ACAB, but surely they would have noticed that there's space, like, in between this chain link fence. But it just seems to, like, give up on trying to chase this car. Also, I love how pixelated this is. You can definitely tell this was uploaded in 2007.
I had to really concentrate.
But in terms of its believability, I mean, I do believe this is a real video recording. I don't think anything's been doctored in the footage. I just don't believe necessarily that this chain link fence that appears out of nowhere is a full length, you know, fence. I feel like there's gaps on either side for the car to go through, and that it's more of an optical illusion, if you like.
I just reckon that's not the direction he ended up going.
Mm.
I just like, you don't see it on camera, but he obviously, when he veered to the left, he may have kept going left, or, you know, something like that. Because it's not, you don't really have a clear view of everything that's going on.
I was also thinking, could it be that this car may have turned to the left and then maybe just done a U-turn? And then when the cops... Yeah. Like Chuck to Yui, the police car, when it pulls up the chain link fence, maybe there just happened to be another car that was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and it was just driving off. So it's the illusion that this is the same car. Or maybe they're the car from Harry Potter and they're turned invisible or some shit, or there's probably like a giant spring that the car's just like just jumped over the fence. But
like Inspector Gadget.
I don't know. I think there's more to this video than what's actually showed. There's been no other follow-ups to this either. There's been no interviews with the police officer. There's been no other proof. Like, you know, if I had uploaded this video, I'm sure there would have been someone in the YouTube community at the time, because YouTube was actually quite huge back in 2007, 2008. You know, I would have expected someone to be like, site inspection, let's go check out the fence, and then they show how the car could have driven through, like if there were gaps or something, but there's almost nothing on this, so it's a no for me.
Yeah, same.
I don't know why this is placed at number 1, honestly, in this top 16 scariest ghostly moments compilation, but it's to do with office chairs just seemingly moving around by itself. So I'll just play the video for you. As you can see, one of the spinning chairs starts to move on its own accord. It doesn't seem to be going in one specific direction. Then a second one starts moving. I'll be honest, I've seen a lot of these kinds of videos where it's like haunted offices. Maybe workaholics, you know, got too tired of working too hard and they just decided that's it. I'm ending my life, but I'm also going to still keep working for this company and haunt the shit out of it. But while no one's in the office, of course. So I just feel like there's so shit. Let me go back. I don't know. I just feel like there's so many ways that this could have easily been rigged, like through strings or through, like they could have easily rigged this through strings, through wiring, and just like had different people like tug on it to make the chairs move. But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I'm looking around at the room, and it kind of, to me, this desk at the front is, at least in my view, it looks bigger than a lot of the little cubicles and stuff. I'm wondering if this is like a university or something like that. And if perhaps this was someone's film final video or something. Or some, there's plenty of ways that you could do this. I've been watching that clock as well to make sure it's going along at a consistent rate, and I'm not sure that it is, because this is easily something that you could do, particularly if it's a camera that only takes certain shots at certain times.
Oh God. Sorry. I had to leave this video in because it is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. This video, I'm just going to preface this. I don't know why this is on the list. Keep your eye on the cat here, where it moves to, and also what appears on the right here. So as you can see, the cat walks towards the left.
Yeah.
And then the cat comes back into the shot from this other doorway here, but it moved to the left. So this video has been called the teleporting cat. That's it. That's the whole video. People are claiming this is proof that the cat teleported. So
it's
right
the
up
same video 20 seconds later, or there's two cats. Easy.
Yeah. Exactly. When I was
watching cat, that's heaps funny. It's a good name for a band, actually.
I just see it in the lineup, but when I watched this, I was like, "Oh, there's two cats. Does this mean that like the table here is gonna move, or I don't know, this thing's gonna fly into the air, or the tennis racket will fall down, and then both cats come into the frame?" But nope. The only description is this is allegedly proof the cat teleported because it went to the left here. This door's shut, that door's open, yes, but the cat doesn't walk past, and then somehow it comes back here. To me, this I use this trick all the time. I used to make fake ghost videos for some reason all the time when I was like 15, 16. It's literally just the same thing as you take 1 minute worth of, hold on, I think I hit my microphone. You take 1 minute worth of footage, and the first 10 seconds you leave like to the left, and then you just walk around the camera and then enter from the right. And it's supposed to be woo. And like all you do is cut out the section in between. And I mean, there's nothing here like ghost orbs or dust or anything. I also find it very suspicious that there's no clock to indicate the surveillance footage. And even if there was surveillance footage, I'd be like, oh, they added that time code in during the editing stage to make it look like, see, the one cat came back in. But I really don't believe this one. I think this is actually probably the fakest video I've had on this series.
Damn. Okay. It's pretty, whatever. Even if that cat could teleport, ooh, you know what I mean? Like, you'd think you'd do something a bit more scary.
This last one, it is so old, like really old.
Hampton fucking Court. Yeah, I remember seeing all the different images of this on ghoststudy.com when we remember that website.
I remember that website.
It still hasn't been updated since then.
No, It hasn't. I actually went on that website a couple of weeks ago because I was telling work
Yeah.
people, oh, me and my friend, we used to go onto Ghost Study all the time. And my manager, who's actually reminds me so much of Kat, but imagine Kat in her 50s. So we get along very well. And she's like, oh, I used to go onto a few ghost websites back in the day. So I sent her this one and she goes, is this like an archive version or is this how it looks? I was like, no, this is how it looks. It hasn't been updated since 2006.
Frozen in time. Just looking at that image, this image we're looking at the moment, just reminds me of that cramped little computer room at Nambucca Primary.
What's interesting about this one is that even though I think it's still fake, you know, it's a proper like historic royal palace. So maybe they were generating some tourism for this place. I don't know. I mean, there's been other places like in episode 2, Erin Ray Govers and I, we investigated this alleged proof of Bigfoot walking through the woods, but mysteriously this Bigfoot character was always next to a souvenir shop that was dedicated to Bigfoot. So it's like, well, surely they just get one of their employees to dress up as this Bigfoot thing once a month. It doesn't even look like Bigfoot. And, you know, that's how they generate constant coverage of this thing, because conspiracy theorists, you know, paranormal lovers like myself, if I'm near there, I'd probably be like, oh, let's go there one Saturday. But, you know, this one, I don't feel like there's a need to produce this kind of hype for it, but I'm still confused. But I'll press play on the video. So, amazing frame rate. It's like 1 frame per 10 minutes. And yet, I don't know. They've referred to it as Skeletor. I've also referred to it as the Antichrist. I just feel like it's still someone in a theater costume or some kind of like cheap Kmart Halloween outfit. I mean, I still find it very suspicious that, you know, given that this video was taken in the early 2000s, yes, I understand why the frame rate is bad and the quality is bad, like all surveillance cameras were back in the day. But, you know, just, I don't know. I don't necessarily think this is believable. I think it's too suspicious that whatever this figure is grabs onto both of the doors to like slam it shut again. But I don't know, I feel like this is one of the most famous instances of early 2000s, you know, recorded proof of paranormal activity. But I don't know, it's still a no for me. But what are your thoughts?
Fuck, it takes me back. I'd never actually seen the like the video. I'd just seen the shots of just all the individual stills of that. It does strike me as weird that it almost seems like it's peeking out, like it's worried someone's watching. And if it's in order after it's completely opened the doors, it does look very Victorian, what they're wearing. So like you said, maybe like a theater costume or something like that. I know they call it Skeletor because it looks like the legs are like twigs, I guess, but I feel like that's just the angle. I feel like it's just a big billowing costume. And then that's just the opening of that costume, if that makes sense, where the jacket sort of opens while it's buttoned up further up. But yeah, I remember thinking this was creepy when I was like 12 and being like, ugh. Not as creepy as that bloody evil bunny though. That'll haunt me forever.
So, Coop, have you had any paranormal experiences? If so, feel free to share.
I don't know if I would use the word paranormal experiences, but I've had some like weird shit in it. It's almost all related to either sleep paralysis or just like really weird, intense dreams. And one of the weirdest ones that happened was whenever I would have like sleep paralysis, it was I can only describe it as like a excuse me, I can only describe it as like a vibration, like it feels like my whole body's vibrating and kind of being like sucked into itself. and then like just really intense sort of feeling. And I had that one time, and it just everything sort of went silent, and then like I heard like a in my dream felt like a, I don't know, like a bit of a laugh or like a chuckle, like a breathy chuckle, just really close to my ears, almost like I was wearing headphones. That was the weirdest thing, and it woke me up right away. And I was just like, yeah, just held jittered, and you know when you wake up like from a really fucked dream, and you're just like, oh, you're just on edge.
Oh yeah.
It hasn't happened a lot to me in my adult life, but this is one of the times it kind of messed with me. And I remember turning the light on, and I said something like, "Oh, I fucking hate that," or "I hate this shit." And as soon as I said, it's just timing. As soon as I said "hate," my the lamp blew, like the light went out, and then fuck, like my heart just sank, and I just went and just like went and sat in the like fell asleep in the lounge room watching TV. I was just like, nah, like I was already just like really nah, fuck that. And I turned the lamp on, went, oh, I fucking, and then it just blew, not like exploded or anything, but the light just went like, made like a, you know, click or clack or whatever it is when the light bulb dies. It was just the worst timing, and I was just, yeah, so freaked out. I would have been like 19, 20 at the time. It was too much, man. And I've had sleep paralysis prior to that and since then, but that's sort of like the freakiest example of that. There was a weird thing. You remember Pongo? Oh, lovely Pongo.
I love Pongo.
Would have been shit, like probably like 14 years ago, like 2005, 2006. And something you said earlier in the episode reminded me of just like dogs barking at shit. I remember he would have been a couple of years old, like 2 maybe. And one day he just randomly started barking at the bookcase, and like his hackles were up, and we like couldn't calm him down. He was just like barking, and we're looking all around there. It was like nothing. There was no like. I thought maybe there was a cockroach or something that moving that might have like set him off, but there was like nothing. It was really weird. It was the only time that happened. Like he would bark if he thought he heard something, but like at the door or whatever, especially when he was getting older. But it wasn't like full on, I'm freaking out, my hackles are up, I'm like ready to defend myself. It was really weird, really strange.
Damn, I swear, animals see things that we can't necessarily see, or maybe they sense impending danger. I know that's a common trope in like TV shows and movies and whatnot, but I swear that animals are always the first to know. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Pongo sensed something from, like, if there was something speaking in your house, he probably did sense that, or maybe it was like the next door neighbors. But it's interesting that you bring up about sleep paralysis, because I mentioned in the first episode my sister used to have numerous experiences with it as a child, but only in one specific location. It was never at my parents' house. It was always at her, pardon me, it was always at her grandmother's house. But she described the exact same thing you did about the body vibrations, but also when she would experience it, it felt like it could go anywhere between like 2 minutes to up to 3 hours, just depending if her body would let her get back to sleep or let her regain control. I haven't experienced it, and the reason why I say that I haven't is because even my small experiences, it's been because I've watched something scary or I'm expecting something to happen. And I only my brother knows this story, but back in 2018, 2019, when God forbid my parents moved to Bowerville, so there's nothing spooky about that house. We've never seen anything, but we were watching this TV show called My Haunted House, which is completely fake as well. It has to be fake. It's just too over the top. Apparently, there's an evil clown called Sad Sam that does children's birthday parties. Bullshit. I don't believe that shit. But there was this one episode where it was around this woman claiming that she would have these reoccurring dreams that she would see her mum in this garden, but then when her mum would turn around, she would have no face. And just like the music and everything about this show was so creepy that, me and my brother would watch like episode after episode, and then like I'd go to sleep, but then whenever I'd try and sleep, I'd still be spooked. So I would imagine there's like voices or that there's something walking around my room. And I'd be like, I know that this isn't real. I'm just going to try and go to sleep. But one night I was like just about to drift to sleep, and then I hear this, hey. And I was like, what the fuck? Like sprung up, turned on the light. And the thing is, the hey was in my voice. So I was like, all right, I just imagined that because I was just about to go to sleep. So it's my subconscious talking, if you like. But likewise, I've had other experiences, which I can't actually remember if I mentioned this on previous episodes or not. But one of my exes, he lived in this town outside Newcastle, and like in his room, there's nothing scary about his house either. It was like brand new, probably built 20 years before. And there were times when I'd just be laying in his bed, and then I would just hear this, hey, wake up. And then like a click, and I would just wake up instantly. And I'd be like, what the fuck was that? And I would speak to him about it and be like, this is what happened to me. And he's like, oh, I've never had that happen. And I was like, it was so weird. Like I was asleep, and then this just woke me up out of nowhere. And I knew that it was in the real world. But again, I mean, we would watch horror movies, but it wasn't necessarily like let's watch a horror movie like at his place. We'd watch it at the cinemas, come back, watch like Simpsons or American Dad or whatever. So there was always like something funny. But I never felt creeped out by his place. So I've never been able to figure out what that was. Likewise, I mentioned this in episode 2 or 3, one of those ones, but the old Newman Street house in Nambucca. So that was the house where I had the massive sunroom, and at one point it was like you, me, Kat, Demi Lee, Damo, Jake, Peter, probably like 300 other people. We would always like share that massive room, and it'd be like 4 people in one bed, 3 people in the double fold out lounge sofa bed thing. But we would see like weird shit all the time. Like I'd look out the windows and see people walking through the weird paddock looking thing that was to the left of our house, but it was also a bush track slash it was supposed to be like a weird walking trail to Main Beach, but I don't know who the hell would walk along that because it was like 50 minutes, whereas you can just drive there, or you can walk a safer option that only takes half an hour. But my previous guest, Jake Avery, I didn't know about this. I don't know if you know about this. Apparently there's a legend in Nambucca that there's a yogi that lives somewhere along that bush track area. And I've never seen that, like never heard anyone else talk about it, but he had been told about it by a few friends and some of the like parents of his friend group. And like whenever he would walk through the bush track, his heart would start racing and he'd hear something. So he would turn around, see some kind of weird like figure looking thing, and he would just bolt like to the beach or back to his friend's place. And I'd never heard that before. So I was like, wait, there's a yogi?
Yowie?
Yowie. I think he meant Yowie instead of yogi, but
I was thinking what, like Yogi Bear, like
I must still be a picnic basket full of meth. But I am going to ask this question because you mentioned it on the Complete Guide to Horror podcast. Have you ever encountered anything spooky, paranormal on the road before?
Oh, on the road. Not particularly. Have I mentioned something on the podcast about this?
Do you remember when we were covering Final Destination 2 with the log truck, and you were telling us about how if you had gotten to a place just like a couple of minutes earlier, something may have happened?
Oh shit! How did I forget that? Holy fuck! Yeah. All right. I'm on the same page now. So, fuck. When was that? That was like a year ago now. Holy shit. But yeah, it was a really, really windy morning in Melbourne, and I was on my way to work, and pretty sure I was running late, and or I had to go back in and grab something. And on my way, I think it was like 6 cars ahead. Because of all the winds, one of the trees nearby hits one of the power poles, and the power pole sparks up, sort of catches fire a little bit, and falls down onto one of the cars, along with the tree. So it was a bit hectic, and I had wondered, oh shit, like what if I'd left a little bit later, or a little earlier, then I'd be under that tree. I mean, from what I saw, because we were able to get around the area, it only sort of took up 2 lanes. I still had to drive around live wires, but it didn't look like anybody was hurt, thankfully. But still, Jesus Christ, like nobody wants to be having their car stuck under a power pole because of high winds, so.
Oh God, no.
A little bit scary. I haven't had anything sort of like paranormal or ghostly. I've heard of I don't know if you've heard about this. It's a kind of like a myth or story. I've actually got a mate who says that he's experienced it before, but driving in the middle of nowhere, like outback, and like the lights that follow you where there's no cars, or like I'm pretty sure he was driving along, and it was just like straight highway. There weren't any roads or anything like that, and there was like a light off to the left that seemed like it was coming like closer and closer, and then it would sort of like back off and follow them. And he said it was really weird and freaky. And there's been lots of weird stories about, like in the outback Australia, of like weird lights or weird things following cars. Never seen it myself. I don't think I've really gone right into the center of Australia. But pretty freaky. Would be pretty freaky.
Coop, I just wanted to say thank you very much for joining me today and sharing your experiences.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Anytime. Viewers, keep an eye out for new episodes each week. If you liked our episode, give us a like, comment, I can't talk. If you liked our episode, give us a comment, like, share, subscribe, tip, etc., etc. Also, check out the Complete Guide to Horror podcast that Coop and I co-host alongside BP, where we also bully BP time to time. And if you hated this episode, go fuck yourself. Bye.